So today I'm going to show you how to transplant your seedling. I would get them outside as soon as you can, but be aware that frosts can happen even if the weather's really nice. So I would look at where you live and when the last frost is and kind of plan accordingly, because if there's any frost at all or any temperature below freezing, this plant will die unless you have a way to keep it warm. And I will show you some options for keeping it warm, which may help. So I'm ready to plant, and I've already dug my hole. I added a bunch of biological amendments, but that's kind of more advanced. This video is more for beginners, so if you want to add anything at all, my first recommendation would be to add compost or some composted manure. You can make it yourself, you can buy it at a garden store or Lowe's or Home Depot. And then if you want to go one step further, maybe an all-purpose fertilizer like Garden Tone. And I'll put a link to it in the description. And usually on the back it'll say add this much per planting hole, and I would go with that, and that should be good. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this baby in the hole. So I dug the hole. Now we have our plant here, and one thing you'll notice that I'm going to do is I'm not going to plant it straight up and down. I'm going to put it on a little bit of an angle because the plant is going to vine, and when that vine forms, it's going to tip the plant forward. So by kind of tipping it forward to begin with, it makes it less likely to bend or rip the vine. Now what you'll notice is I'm going to plant it on an angle, and the plant is going to kind of grow up towards the sun, but once it starts laying down, it'll go back to that angle again. So we're going to plant it at an angle, and the other thing is you have to make sure you're planting it in the right direction, because I don't want my vine going that way, I want my vine going that way. So I have to find the first true leaf. So when this seedling emerged, it came up with these two leaves right here. They're called cotyledons. They might be able to see better here. So here and here, those are the cotyledons. And typically your first true leaf is going to be your biggest leaf because it's the first one that came up. For me, my first true leaf is right here. The vine is going to go in the opposite direction of the first true leaf. So that means I have to rotate it this way because my vine's going that way. So we have the first true leaf, the vine's going to go the opposite direction from it. Now, my pot here, I cut it in half and then duct taped it together, but I just transplanted my other plant, and apparently Gorilla Tape is really strong, and I struggled so hard to get the tape off that it ended up causing more issues. So I'll show you how to do it without using the duct tape method. Basically all you're going to do is kind of squeeze the pot a little bit, loosen up those roots. You're going to support the plant at the base, turn it upside down, squeeze it until it loosens up enough that the pot will slide off. And then we're going to lay it upright, make sure we're facing the right direction, plant it at an angle, and then start filling the dirt in. Or soil, not dirt. Actually, so I made a mistake already, so I'm going to show you what to do when you make a mistake. What I did here is I went by the level of the soil for planting it, and I forgot that my stem is a little bit leggy, so I actually want to bury a little bit of the stem, so I want to make this a little lower. So I'm going to undo what I just did, nice and gently so I don't disturb the roots. We'll gently lift this guy out of here. Sorry, dude. Make my hole a little deeper. And we're going to try that again. Okay, that looks a lot better. So we got it at the angle, and we'll fill it again. You're allowed to make mistakes. I've been doing this for over 10 years and I still make mistakes. It's how you learn. Just try not to make really bad mistakes that kill your plant. Although I've done those too. And this is also why you grow backup plants, in case you screw up so bad that you kill your plant. That's why we have backups. Because we are human, and we are not perfect, and things happen that are out of our control. I pat it down lightly. You don't have to go crazy. We want to avoid too much soil compression. Alright, so that's about how I want it. So now we want to give the plant a little bit of support. I use these little bamboo skewers, shish kebab things. You can get them real cheap at any grocery store. There's a train coming through, if you haven't noticed. So the point of these is to prevent this guy from blowing left and right and snapping the vine. That's happened to me before, which is why I do this now. So I'll just lift this guy up a little. I do it in a little crisscross pattern. And I'll do one over here as well. For a little bit of support. If I notice it blowing one way or another that's not being supported by these, then I'll just adjust them. Just like this. So actually we want to go the opposite way. So we're going to go like that, because the way the wind was blowing, that's more support for it. So, alright, so we got that. We'll see how that goes. We got a little support for our plant, and once it sees the sunlight, it'll start doing its own thing and we'll adjust accordingly. So that's how you transplant your seedling. After my seedling is transplanted, I like to water it in. You can use plain water. I use a little mix of fish and seaweed, which you don't have to do, but get all around the plant, and I prefer to use a watering can with all the little holes in it. It just does a better job at covering the area that I need.